Hello and welcome to the Knock On KCLR and scoreline.ie's rugby podcast with us every week. As you can see on the ticker tape at the bottom of the screen, which is very fancy, it's former Leinster captain Chris Pim. Chris, how are you?
Good, yeah. Nice to see it, Stephen. All good.
We're
Dirty other week weather, but it's helped keep the dust down.
Absolutely, you beat me to it. I was going to say, and you were enjoying our lovely summer weather. Yeah, there were a lot of puddles around this morning now when I was out running, places that usually wouldn't see puddles. But that's on account of all that rain, of course. Chris, it's a quietish week in terms of rugby. Now, there's always bits of news happening as well. But there I am saying it's a quiet weekend, and with the Challenge Cup and Champions Cup finals taking place, but we don't really care anymore because there's no Irish teams involved, if we're being totally honest. But in fairness,
well, there's the Raj factor, of course.
Yes.
So that's keeping us all tuned in. So yeah, look, it'll be fascinating to see how that one goes. I think it's going to be really tough to call. I mean, I think if you were to look at the two teams on paper, you'd say Toulouse have the better squad and bigger squad and possibly a little bit stronger, but La Rochelle are definitely in a very hot vein of form. Toulouse have lost their last two club games, so there'll be nothing in it, but I just have a sneaking suspicion that Raj might get them over the line with his his KBA, keep the ball alive and all this kind of stuff. So it should be a really, really fascinating game. We're really looking forward to it, actually. Yeah. So just a sneaking suspicion that La Rochelle may do it, but then you just can't write off Toulouse. They've got such class with Colby and Dupont, probably two of the best players in the world at the moment. So
absolutely,
at 14 and 9. So I don't know. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, in terms of teams, they're the complete polar opposites. They couldn't be further apart when it comes to European experience anyway, and that sort of pedigree as well. But Raj seems to be really confident. He was interviewed a lot during the week, of course, and the lead up to this as well. And he says even his managerial mindset has changed from the one that he had when he was a player. He used to talk about being so nervous for these European finals and these big games, but he says he's himself in a better place coming into games like this now as a manager, and I think he's able to get that across to the players as well. He's able to bring that experience of big games, whether it was for Ireland or for Munster in the two Heineken Cup winning games that they had, and taking that into account and beating Leinster. And the fact that La Rochelle it's like someone described it as like Munster back in the noughties when they were winning the first Heineken Cups, and there was the build up to that. There's that feeling around La Rochelle. Everyone's getting behind the team and all that. And you can't underestimate that stuff either, Chris. I've seen it in action before, even with Leinster when things started to build in 2008, 2009, and Leinster won that Heineken Cup then as well. It brings an awful lot to it, and it gives the players such a boost as well. But then, like you said, you look at Toulouse, they're going for their fifth Heineken Cup, their fifth star, which Leinster don't want to see. Colby, Dupont, nominated for European Player of the Year. Experience, and just like I said, they're on a progression as well. They started to come back a couple of years ago, and they're on an upward curve. That's why it's going to be a fascinating game. Can La Rochelle just keep the momentum going, and what's going to happen? That's why I'm looking forward to it, like you.
Yeah, no, it should be a cracker, and be interesting to see. But I suppose as a Leinster man, we'd like to get to 5 before Toulouse do. So on that basis, we're going to give Raj our support this weekend.
Absolutely. It's we're all about the black and amber this weekend anyway, from a rugby point of view. Yeah, so that match is on 4:45 on Saturday, and it's available on BT Sport, Virgin Media, and a couple of other channels as well. So plonk yourselves in front of the telly for that one. So Leinster, Chris, are out of that, of course, and last week got a run out against Ulster in the Rainbow Cup. Did you watch the game? What do you think of it?
I did, yeah. I saw most of it. I missed the first 20 minutes, but it was an interesting sort of game. kind of was no team really kind of dominated. Leinster had a lot of ball in the first half, but really didn't make a whole lot of use of it. But they went kind of comfortably ahead then in the second half, and you thought game over, and then Ulster kind of got back into it with the last couple of minutes, and it was a little bit nervous there. They possibly could have snuck a draw, but look, I think Leinster looked, while they didn't look comfortable, they did look like possibly the better team on the day. I was a little bit disappointed with the Ulster backline. Didn't really click. I thought they've been looking like a team that were really going to get their backline. Their backline flying there for a while, but it just didn't quite come off for them. So, but yeah, look, it was a good game. It was an interesting side Leinster picked. So,
it was. James Ryan looked like a man possessed. Robbie Henshaw got through a lot of work as well. Yeah. There was a couple of good individual performances, I suppose, and progression of all that as well. And then with Robbie Henshaw's tackle, which was a talking point as well. No contact with the head, but then everyone was like saying, well, this is the real fine line between that safe play and all that stuff as well. What did you think of it?
Yeah, look, it probably was touch and go, but as somebody who played in the olden days, I'd probably have said it was grand. Possibly can't politically say that anymore, but look, it was. I actually thought it was grand. I thought there was a bit of a fuss made over it, to be honest.
Chest on chest, sort of, more than anything. He did wrap his arms, and there was no head contact really, or even head on shoulder, and that's so it was grand. But of course, everyone's going to get up in arms now because it's been watched like a hawk. Supporters and referees and everything. It was checked by the ref and the TMO, and of course, nothing came of it as well. So Leinster out again in next weekend, I think it is. The other match, which is a cracker as well, Connacht Munster. Carlo man wearing the captain's armband for that one. Tom Daly did a good job. Connacht were good.
No, that was a good win. Yeah, really good. And also, I mean, Munster had a lot of their stars out there, so it was a bit of a kick in the face for them. And Mahoney got himself into a spot of bother there. Arguing over stuff that really he should be big enough to get beyond. So yeah, look, wasn't a great day for Munster, and I think it was probably an opportunity that to kind of stamp their authority on that league, but they got caught short there. And a good performance from Connacht, to be fair.
Yeah, and Connacht, of course, hurting from their defeat to Leinster the week before. But do you think there was a bit of complacency with Munster going into it, or just?
Yeah, you would imagine so, given that, I mean, Leinster put whatever it was, 50 points on them, and without playing particularly well. I mean, Connacht were shocking the previous week. Never really couldn't cope with it, the forward pack at all, and so it was really, really poor performance, but they certainly turned it around and showed great energy and a great fight. So yeah, look, fantastic performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And good for the game as well. Good for Connacht to see them not getting bet out the gate. So yeah, look, super performance. But yeah, Munster be, as I say, having to have a good look at themselves, but yeah, it wasn't great.
And speaking of Munster and Connacht, two players to depart. With Connacht first, Stephen Fitzgerald has been forced to retire at 25 in knee injury. You know Stephen a bit, Chris, don't you?
Yeah, well, I don't know him that well, but I know Sam, my eldest lad, when he was out in Australia, he played with Erasmus. He played with Queensland University, and Stephen was out there with Bond University. Playing in their premiership, because I think he was struggling to get game time. He would have been with the Munster Academy at the time, and Nucifora sent him out there to go. Was an old club of his to try and get him game time, because it was just coming off. Obviously, seasons would have been opposite, if you know what I mean. So they would have been coming into their season, whereas our season was finishing, and they were keen to try and get him game time. But I'm not sure how well it went for him, because Bond University got got absolutely pumped by Sam's team that week, and I think they got a good few beatings during that summer. So certainly Sam enjoyed it, but I'm not sure how much Stephen enjoyed it. But yeah, look, sorry to see him broke up, as they say. You never want to see that, to be fair.
Absolutely, quite a young age to retire as well. James Cronin is to finish with Munster at the end of the season as well. Started with them in 2013. He's 3 Irish caps, and of course he was involved in a bit of controversy there at one stage as well. The coach said there was nothing officially said regarding finances and all, but his comment in a press conference was along the lines of, well, it's just the nature of the game, and I don't know, basically resources and that at the moment. So it looks like they probably couldn't afford to keep him on. They're trying to save a few bob and cut here and there as well. Obviously, post-pandemic or coming to the end of the pandemic as well, for finances of all the clubs, and rugby itself is all over the place.
Yeah, no, difficult one there. And yeah, as you say, he was kind of involved in what was, I would have thought from an admin point of view, disaster and PR disaster as to the handling of a prescription that he got before a game, and mix up over names and all that kind of stuff. And it was all a little bit unsatisfactory, but I'm sure that had nothing to do with the decision around letting him go and stuff. I think they have a couple of young props coming through with Josh Wycherley and the like. So it was a question of, he was probably on a full contract, didn't really, from an Irish perspective, didn't look like he was going to go through to, get capped anymore. So yeah, tough decision, and that's the nature of professional sport. There's very little sentiment there, so tough on him. But I presume he'll stay playing. You expect him to turn up somewhere, maybe in France or the UK, maybe second division or whatever next year. But yeah, look, he's a good prop and well able to do his job. I know he struggled a bit with injury, certainly in the middle part of the season, but who knows? But I'd be surprised if we don't see him turn up somewhere over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, we're still talking about the Lions. We're getting ready for that series, of course, in a matter of weeks now at this stage. But they're going to play one of the games, or one of the friendlies, in Murrayfield, and they're going to let 16,500 fans in for the Japan match. Happy days. Happy
days, just to start anyway. And there's, I think, is there 20,000 or is it 10,000 going to the European Cup game in Twickenham tomorrow as well. So look, we're getting there, hopefully getting this virus under control. So look, signs are good, and so far so good. I know there was a good few. Was there 20,000 in Wembley last week for the FA Cup final? Yeah, and that certainly added a huge amount to the game. So it's great to see crowds back at games, because they're fairly sterile affairs. There's only so much piped sound you can put into a TV broadcast. So when you're looking at empty seats, it just doesn't have the same buzz. So look, bring it on. It's great. And I suppose it's just unfortunate that there won't be crowds in South Africa, but it's 6-8 weeks away as well still. So who knows, things might change between now and then.
There's one thing that really confuses me about playing rugby or soccer in an empty stadium, is that the stadium announcers are still going full peg. So when you're listening to the Leinster match, your man is giving it socks. The music comes on. Please, welcome out onto the pitch, Leinster. You're like, the telly isn't even picking you up. It's I always found it
funny. Have to keep them in a job, it's all about saving jobs.
Keep them in practice as well, keep the old spirits up. It's a funny one, and I get a giggle out of it every time. It's great to have fans in Murrayfield, and a lot, like you said, the Champions Cup as well. We spoke about this a few weeks ago about the Champions Cup crowd. Where were they going to come from? Probably just Londoners, rugby people.
Yeah, well, I know the couple of lads, Sam's couple of mates were going over. He actually has an exam tomorrow, otherwise he'd have gone himself. So they have a crew literally flying in for the day and flying out. They got some package. So look, they're finding them all right. They'll find them. They'll be there.
Yeah, no problem finding rugby. Exactly.
to get there. So yeah, there's a couple of Irish lads be there anyway. So I don't know what way to work, but they'll find them all right.
Be well spread out. That's a big stadium. Yeah, and some news from a broadcasting point of view as well. So we heard the news that Eir had confirmed that they wouldn't be covering rugby next season because of rights and all that, and the cost of subscription and all that stuff. But they've confirmed now that their sports channels are going to wind up completely later in the year. So bringing basically to an end its venture, I suppose, into sports TV. Which means that the TV rights, I suppose, for the Pro 14 will go back out to auction. And there was talk of RTE, TG Car, that sort of acts as covering the games again from an Irish point of view as well. But it's I suppose, to give Eir a bit of credit, Chris, that there are quite a lot of games on, and the show replays and that as well. Their coverage of it, even under Setanta years ago, used to be great, because if you missed the Leinster match or a Munster match, it was on the following morning at 11 o'clock on a Saturday or whatever it was. And you always got to catch up.
Yeah, no, sorry to see him go. And I think Tommy Bowe and as an anchor, and the crew that they had on there, had Stringer and Darcy and whatever, that they'd done a good job and presented it well and came across well. So look, I presume it's pure economics at this stage. The sums weren't adding up, so they've just decided to pull the plug. But yeah, it's disappointing, to be honest. And it'll be if it'd be interesting to see how RTE package it, actually, whether they just do the TG Car piece or whether they'll put it back on mainstream TV. So look, that'll be a big part of it. So, but I think purely from a rugby brand point of view, I think the TG Car piece is weak enough. But I think certainly it'd be great if it was back on RTE, sort of on mainstream telly. But look, time will tell. But yeah, disappointing, and sorry, because Eir done a good job. They presented it well. I thought packaged it well, and it came across quite well. So yeah, I'm sorry to see it go.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people always saying that when the matches are on TG Car, the non-Gael Gores of us, could they give us an option of a red button for the English? They do it for BBC Alba in Scotland and BBC Wales. And it's
sounds
great.
Fair enough to me. You're a non-Gael Gore camp as well. So I have my lady wife is a Gael Gore, so she thinks it's absolutely fine. But then she couldn't be arsed to watch the rugby in the first place. But she can tell me what's going on.
What did he say? Is that a knock on? I don't know. I couldn't hear.
Exactly.
That sort of stuff.
Anyway, we'll see what happens.
That's it. But with the, I suppose, the commercial model for sports broadcasting, Chris, starting to change, it's going to end up, and this was the worry with the Six Nations, back in the hands of the big spenders, the big money guys, the Sky Sports and all that sort of stuff as well. You just hope in future that there might be a free-to-air option for national broadcasters for the Pro 14. I don't know, maybe put some behind the wall or find some commercial model that'll work. But everything is tough now. Everything is streamed. You can watch games anywhere. There's all these other streaming services as well. It's a really competitive market at the moment.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's a different world, that's for sure. Certainly to the one that I was reared in, where you had either 2-channel land, or if you were really posh, you had the BBC as well. But it's a different world, that's for sure. It's and so much of content is online available now, and it's a different model altogether. So, but look, I would love to see some stuff just kind of back on the old free to air. I think it adds the game for everybody and gives accessibility to the game to everybody. So
that's it. Chris, before I let you go, Australia have launched their bid for the 2027 Rugby World Cup. That was the latest news announced this week. Which is not a bad idea. Ready-made stadiums, they've done it before. Handy enough.
Yeah, I mean, Australian rugby is in absolute dire straits at the moment. They've their own Tasman Trans Cup or whatever it is they're playing now against New Zealand. All 5 of their provinces got absolutely whopped by the New Zealand provinces or super teams last weekend. and they just don't have the numbers playing the game because rugby league is so huge over there that rugby union is really very much on the on the back foot there. So I read a couple of articles there during the week about the kind of ex-legends of rugby union in Australia, and they just see the whole game is falling apart there. And
Wow.
there was a couple of guys Sam that played with who got contracts at the national level, and there's guys on academy contracts over here would be on as much. They just don't have the money, and they've I think, I can't remember, there was like however many million they got from doing well in the World Cups and whatever, and just the Last Lions tour and all this kind of stuff, that apparently every penny of it plus however many million is gone, and they're just giving out about how the game has been run, and the rugby union model is not working over there. So I suppose they desperately see the 2027 World Cup as an opportunity to basically fill up the coffers again, because they're just financially goosed. So it's kind of shit or bust for them, because if they don't get this, it's hard to see how the game will come back out there. So a very tough time for Australia rugby, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, league is doing well, and they've got their AFL as well, which is hugely followed out there too. There's a lot of football games out there. They're trying to grow soccer as well, and everything else. It's tough to see that happening to rugby union, and there's a risk of it happening a lot of places as well.
No question.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, that's it. That's our flick through the rugby newspaper of the week.
Okay, cool.
And that we're still looking forward to the Lions tour. A couple of more weeks of the Rainbow Cup to go, and we'll have a chat next week about how Rog got on with La Rochelle against Toulouse. Fingers crossed, and the best of luck to him as well from an Irish point of view. Chris, thanks a million for talking to us.
Pleasure, Stephen. No worries. Talk to you soon. Cheers.
Cheers.